Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. I'm the Grace Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Thursday, April 4th, 2024. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first 5 cards in our 5-card spread? First card we are starting our day off with today is our 4 of Pentacles in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy in the divine union frequency. This is that energy of investing in the path forward effectively. One of the things that we're energetically seeing right now, and this is something that we've been seeing, has been coming up repeatedly over and over again over the last few days, is how you feel in terms of what you're energetically putting out right now. Masculine and feminine energy. A lot of this is the response or the result of doing a lot of that energetic or spiritual spring cleaning over the last few weeks, tangibly or intangibly, recognizing, ascertaining what feels like it is working, what feels like it is helping to motivate you forward. A lot of this is even energetically feeling to a certain extent. I want to describe this as like taking the training wheels off of something, if you will. Being able to even understand that something that you may have held on to very dearly when you first entered the divine union frequency feels almost energetically superfluous now. That is the gift that we keep seeing that is happening right now for a lot of this energy that's moving in this modality, because what we're effectively seeing to a certain extent is that feeling of recognizing and identifying what feels like it is energetically serving you at this time. So that ability, that process of release, if you will, that ability to recognize and identify what no longer is serving you is what is giving you the space to bring in new opportunities, to bring in new possibilities. I like to describe this best right now as that sense of being able to only navigate. You can only carry what you can energetically carry to a certain extent. And so what we're seeing right now for a lot of the energy in the heart of the divine union frequency is this ability to recognize and ascertain what feels like it is valuable is now that moment of almost like creating that energetic release process that is helping you make the energetic space for anything that is coming through at the conclusion of this eclipse cycle, right? That's that moment. We just keep seeing that a lot of the energy right now in the heart of the divine union, that's that moment or amplification of feeling or sensing that you can only carry so much. There's only so much that you can energetically carry. So this is helping in that sense, because that is that moment that we're seeing even now, that sense of recognizing what feels like it creates that space of joyfully carrying it versus what is creating that sense of energetic exhaustion, that is creating that sense of energetic frustration. That is the determinative factor between what feels like it is moving you towards your manifestation goals in a way that feels like you're almost essentially already energetically there, right? Because that positivity is present versus that feeling or sense that if you're feeling like you're having that sense of energetic anxiety or fear, that's that moment of recognizing and realizing that the manifestation goal doesn't energetically necessarily correct that. So that's that moment of discerning what can be tangibly changed in the present environment, right, to help with that energetic feeling versus what may be happening on the internal side. This is some heavy unpacking we're seeing here, but this is vital. This is vital because this is the determinative factor between what feels like it can be energetically changed versus what you are energetically carrying. Both require different solutions, but ascertaining and determining which is which is a lot of the sorting process that we see that is happening right now for the energy in the divine union frequency. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now. This is that moment that feels like the investiture of pouring your time, effort, energy into what you consider valuable, what you consider important, what you are investing in, you are creating right now. This is the energy right now that we see for a lot of the energy entering the divine union frequency that feels like that amplification point in recognizing that what you have between you feels intangible. And this is that moment of putting it into some point of energetic reality, if you will, because this is that moment that we see is that magnification point of the energy energetically fully committing to one another. The counterparts giving all of that energy towards one another, because this is the blending A lot of energy right now coming into divine union, doing that difficult work of energetically blending your lives together, right? Again, the difference between building around someone and building with someone is that sensation that your energetic lives are becoming enmeshed. That is also a release process. That is also that process that as we blend together, we also have to energetically let go, because that's that moment of either feeling like you're letting go of that past version of self in order to come into the divine union frequency, or it could just be like tangibly releasing things that don't feel like they serve the energy that you're coming into right now. Like if somebody has something and someone else has something, you don't need two of something. So it's almost that moment that feels like this could even be a lot of that tangible process is coming into play. Masculine and feminine energy in separation right now. This is all about the investment of time, effort, and energy. And that's why we see even now, if there is feminine energy that feels like they're starting to build energetic connections with the masculine, this is feminine energy that's almost limiting or starting to hold off on building an energetic connection with the masculine until they see that sense of investiture in the masculine energy. Because again, this is a lot of the feminine energy in separation that has felt that point of looking at past path work and potentially recognizing that one of their own accountability lessons that they're taking forward from this point is that sense of feeling like if someone comes towards you from a state of confusion, giving them something doesn't ameliorate the confusion. It almost pours energetic concrete on it, right? It almost like locks it into place. Then this is why we see that so much of this energy that is doing this work in separation is almost saying like the problem with this is the feminine wants to give this to the masculine. The feminine's like, I have what you energetically need. Feminine's like, I know what the manifestation goal is. I know what I'm trying to lead forward in. Why is the feminine energy like fighting back that energetic resistance point? Because this is the feminine energy learning the resilience point in saying, I need to see that the masculine has that as well. Because that's the feminine saying, either if the masculine doesn't have that, if the masculine hasn't built that sense of internal purpose, then that's either the masculine that's going to be bringing that confusion into whatever we build together, or that's a masculine that may eventually coming towards me because they don't have that. And then they may have eventually energetically resent me for it, right? So this is why we almost see right now that this is the feminine energy. This is almost the feminine energy saying to some and the masculine energy around them at this point, like this isn't the removal of a connection. This is almost identifying what that connection is going to be. Because this is that moment of the feminine saying, either you're coming towards me with that plan. Either you know what it is that you want or you energetically don't. And if you don't, this is the feminine energy saying, when you do, like, let me know. And if you don't, that's okay too, because that's something about, again, this could be a lot of the feminine energy and separation, moving a lot of that energy into a space or place of friendship, or moving into that space or place of building what feels like a deep energetic connection with someone, but almost not wanting to over invest in terms of creating that sense of energetic commitment. Masculine energy in separation right now. This is that modality of, again, a lot of the masculine energy in separation, coming into that point of recognition. And you may be doing a lot of this path work on your own past thing, that when you leave yourself open to energetically everything, you don't necessarily invest in anything, right? Because that's that moment that you may feel like that amplification point, like almost like that feeling of like energetically dissolving yourself into a lot of different spaces and places. But that's effectively, again, one of the reasons that we're seeing that some of this masculine energy and separation, you may be having a lot of these like fundamental breakthrough points in the difference between feeling like you have a lot of different investments, if you will, like energetic investments around you. But at the same time, they don't lead to like that deepening path work, because that's that moment. We just keep seeing this like point about like the difference between being in the shallow end of a pool with someone energetically versus that investment that's required when you really start to build forward with that sense of intentionality. And why is that so difficult for a lot of the masculine energy? Because it feels very intense. It feels like a letting go process when you do so. It can feel very like, I want to say, energetically frightening, because intimacy is a very energetically frightening thing. But as you do so, That's that moment that like the pool effectively or energetically deepens. So for a lot of the masculine energy, starting to understand and recognize this, potentially even starting to build forward right now with open, authentic connections with feminine, and almost seeing the depths of that well. That is that moment that the masculine, that's that point of understanding and recognizing. You need to experience, you need to be invested in that. You need to provide the same in kind in order to energetically receive it. Second card in our 5-card spread for today is, we've got here our moon card. Speak of it, talking about those deep wells. Like that's that moment. And that's why we see that for a lot of the masculine energy in this modality, this feels like a deep internal journey. This is like the journey of asking oneself if you are energetically ready for intimacy. Because that's that moment that you're feeling that sense of recognizing and saying, if I want to go deep with someone, I need to plumb those depths within my own self. I need to be willing and ready to energetically open myself up in that capacity. So we see even now that this could be requiring, this is almost that moment of masculine energy, coming into that space or place of identifying and recognizing, going deep within the heart of the self to really say to oneself what it is that you truly seek. Because your own ability of being invested on that energetic journey is one that, like, again, it's not necessarily the journey that you have outside the self that provides that, right? It's not like you can energetically graft onto someone that's in that kind of space. That's one that like requires you to go energetically deeper in the process. So we keep seeing that a lot of this masculine energy in separation right now, this is a lot of internal path work that is happening. And this could be even like, again, if this is a moment with a lot of the masculine energy and recognizing or identifying the fact that there are some issues with intimacy here. And what do I mean by intimacy? I'm going to put it like this: blending the authenticity with the intentionality, taking those two zones and bringing them together. For masculine energy, if there's a difficulty point, like this is like holding two pieces and going, why can't I get these to, like, why don't they want to come together? Like this is the energy of the masculine going, why can't I get these? Like, what is this? And this is the masculine in separation saying, what is it about myself? What is it about myself that it is so hard for me to take these two pieces and make them kiss, right? So that's almost like that feeling that we see that is requiring a lot of that internal probing right now for the masculine energy. And that's beautiful if that's happening in separation, because that's someone doing a lot like that. That is the healing journey. Like that, there's some healing journey stuff right there. Trying to like uncrack that nut, like trying to figure out what that is. Like that's kind of like, again, I see here, like there's a little bit of like, there's some heavy energy here, right? Feminine energy, this is that moment that feels, again, it feels very difficult, because we see that for a lot of the feminine energy right now, if there is masculine that is coming towards the feminine from a state of authenticity, but lacking intentionality, what feels difficult for a lot of the feminine energy is that moment of having to almost push back, if you will, wanting, like, this is feminine energy that wants to lead forward in this way, that like wants to be like, well, it's okay if you don't know what you want. I know what I want and I can just help. Like, this is the feminine going, I can't do that. I can't energetically do that. Why? Because the feminine energy is literally working on the karmic pathwork of identifying and recognizing that feeling of wanting to help someone, even wanting to do so in a way that feels like it's energetically compassionate. That's that tough love coming in, saying someone needs to find their own path. Someone needs to have their own intentionality. I can't steer them in that direction, because it'll always feel like we're working around each other instead of with one another. So we see even now it's hard for a lot of the feminine energy about this right now, this is almost that moment that like, it can be hard for the feminine to articulate this to a masculine, especially if the masculine isn't coming towards them in this way. Because what is the feminine energy doesn't want to say to the masculine energy, well, you seem great, but you seem very energetically confused. You seem like you seem great, but it seems like you don't want to commit yourself fully into a path work because you're potentially frightened of intimacy. These are things that the feminine doesn't want to almost like energetically say to the masculine, because these are things that sometimes we see things in another, and it feels too difficult or energetically revealing to be able to articulate it in a certain fashion. So it's hard for a lot of the feminine energy in this modality right now is almost that moment of saying, I can't I can't guide a masculine if I'm recognizing that to a certain extent. That's the feminine energy, just seeing it clearly and almost looking towards masculine and separation, going, I wonder if they see this. Right? And this is almost a feminine energy. Again, this is hilarious because this is feminine energy. This is feminine energy and separation, saying I don't want to this is the feminine energy saying, how do I throw someone an energetic bone without energetically helping them on the, even this is a moment where the feminine's like, I see something in masculine and separation that I feel like could be assisting, but I don't want them to energetically misconstrue what I'm telling them, right? Because that's the feminine energy, not wanting to be in that modality of feeling like they're, again, like laying something prescriptive at the feet of the masculine. But this is almost the feminine energy saying, well, I see this. I wonder if they do too, right? Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union. This is that moment of taking what you energetically feel between you that is so hard to put into words and putting it into words. This is a lot of this energy that we are seeing right now that's coming into divine union, that's just making the intangible tangible. And that's what's so lovely about it, because this is that moment that feels like that deepening of a bond and potentially, that sense of building that deep degree of intimacy in how much you're energetically giving to one another. And even in that moment, that feels like a little bit of that energetic release process, because that's that sense of like energetically letting something go. But that's like the gift that you get back in kind is, like I said, that deep well, like that deep well that we're talking about. This is the deep well that is being explored or plumbed by those energies that are willing to work together in that capacity, that build that counterpart energy. Because this is that sense of, again, shedding the autonomous moment to be able to come into that deepening sense of what you're creating together. So we see even now that for a lot of the energy in this modality right now, this is that moment that, like, it's that energetic surrender of one thing for the gift of another. And that's what we see that is happening right now to a certain degree. Masculine and feminine energy in the heart of the divine union frequency. This is why we see even now that there's a lot of this energetic checking in that is occurring right now, because for a lot of the energy in the heart of the divine union frequency, the sensation, the understanding that you can be in the same experience, but be having very, very different experiences, right? This is that moment that feels like even when we're in deep energetic connection with someone, there's always that aspect, if you will, that is somewhat nebulous in relationality to how one is experiencing even those moments. And we see right now, this is a lot of that deep, intense investigation that is happening right now, either on the internal perspective or potentially with, like, energetically with the counterpart, to really say to one another, are we energetically in the same place? I know we are tangibly in the same space, but are we energetically in the same space? Because that is that feeling of, again, recognizing the sense of moving towards something with a sense of excitement, of happiness, versus a sense of energetically carrying something that feels like that amplification point of anxiety, which has been coming in so much. So like what we're seeing here is, like, again, that is the discernible identification point between feeling something that is, even when we feel a point of anxiety instead of excitement, we need to ask ourselves, is there something in the external that can adjust for, that can accommodate, that can alleviate that? Or is that something that needs to be addressed in the internal, right? That's that difference of saying, is this an outward thing, or is this something that I can control, or something that I'm internally navigating? Third card in our 5-card spread for today is, we've got here the Knight of Swords. And this is why we see that it's so valuable and so important to do this type of work right now. Because what is one of the things that we see that so much of the energy in the divine union frequency has been working on? Making sure not to energetically subject someone to how one is feeling, but instead to be able to tell someone how you are feeling. And we see even now that ability to identify and recognize that moment of personal investigation. What that allows us to a certain extent is not just coming into a reactive space, but it creates that sense of consideration. It creates that pause point. It creates that level or degree of energetic discernment when we feel something to say, is this something? Like, is my reactivity point to something that I'm seeing and feeling has some point of external validation that can be modified and amended to fix that? Or is this reactivity point something that's happening more internally within me? The ability right now for a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency to take that energetic pause point, feeling something and not just subjecting another to it, but almost taking that point of energetic consideration. That is that moment that even now we see that, like, this is why I keep saying that this is the energy that's either doing this in divine union right now within, or having a very intense conversation with counterpart energy about what is occurring within. Because that is, again, the difference between recognizing what can be energetically changed, through our reaction points, versus what feels like it has to be energetically accepted. So we see even now that this is a lot of intimate conversations that are coming through right now. And why? All for the investiture and all for the path work of trying to navigate and create that sense of having the energetic feeling of what you're hoping to manifest. How do you just bring it into the present? Remembering and understanding that if you're not energetically there in the present, then it doesn't matter what you manifest for yourself, because you're going to feel the same way that you do now with whatever it is. That's the difference between anywhere you go, there you are, versus being happy under any circumstances, right? Those are the differentiation points. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now. This is the feeling of energetically finding that. This is the feeling of energetically finding that to a certain degree. And what happens, this is what's happening right now for a lot of the energy coming into the divine union frequency. What happens when you energetically find that? You immediately start to feel energetic anxiety about losing it. You immediately start to feel energetic anxiety about losing it. Masculine and feminine energy, that's a lot of that deep intimacy. And that's why we see so much of this energy right now is doing that hard work of trying to make the tangible, making the tangible space match the energetic connection. Because a lot of this energy right now is almost moving forward in a way. And this is what's fun. This is where we start to see this energy operating in a way that's like, I mean, I don't want to laugh at it, but the way, what it generates when this occurs between masculine and feminine, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to is, that's the thing. It makes the masculine energy want to rush forward. It makes the feminine energy want to slow down, because this is the masculine being like, I can't move fast enough. And this is the feminine going, I don't want to disrupt things, right? So this is that energy, like hitting that like funny little wall that we sometimes see between these energies when something like this occurs. Because this is, again, that moment. Feminine being like the fact, and this is the feminine energy seeing like the faster the masculine runs, the feminine's like, you can go even slower, because that's the feminine seeing and experiencing the difference of a masculine that, like, again, this is the feminine energy, always remembering that when masculine energy wants something, there's very little that will stay energetically in the way of masculine energy moving in that direction. Why is this happening right now? Because that's also creating a lot of energetic revelation for feminine energy around past connections, about connections where they might not have seen the masculine moving with such energetic determination towards the feminine. So what we see and recognize even now for a lot of this feminine energy is coming into that modality, feeling someone freely giving you that. That is what's building a lot of that energy of the feminine coming into the heart of these energetic connections right now, because that is that amplification of feeling a masculine that's like energetically choosing you and almost like moving in a way that feels expedited, because that's a masculine almost showing that anxiety point in wanting to like energetically create something stable around what they're energetically feeling. Masculine energy, if you're in this modality right now, this is that moment that potentially feels like a conquering of your own self. This is almost like a masculine that may be feeling to a certain extent that this feels like a point of personal breakthrough, because this is almost the masculine energy of building a connection with this. This is the masculine energy coming into divine union, almost identifying and recognizing spaces or places where you may have been too afraid. It was too hard for you to build that sense of intimacy. And that's why we see that for so much of this energy of the masculine that's moving forward in this way, being able to recognize and identify, being able to move towards the feminine with so much of this energetic commitment, you recognize and identify that yes, it has something to do with the energetic alignment that you're feeling with the feminine, but you're also taking that point of validation and recognizing that this is you conquering your own fears. That a lot of this is the result of you doing that brave work of moving forward and investing in something, again, relinquishing the outcome, if you will, but letting that sense of energetic commitment propel you forward. So we see even now, for a lot of the energy of the masculine coming into divine union in this capacity, this almost feels akin to that like maturation process that is the amplification of bravery. Because what is bravery? Is bravery moving towards something that you feel like is a sure shot? Or is bravery that moment of doing something energetically wherein you don't necessarily know what the outcome is, but you proceed forward anyway? And we see that for a lot of the masculine energy right now that's coming into divine union, this is that sense of recognizing and identifying that amplification point, that feeling of navigating through your own anxieties. Like that's that work of really feeling the amplification point in finding one's own sense of purpose and intentionality, because purpose and intentionality guides us forward even when we're feeling that energetic anxiety, right? That's that moment that we say, I do it anyway, because that is that investiture in saying, again, surrendering the energetic outcome. That is how we find purpose. Masculine and feminine in separation. This is the feminine energy in separation, basically seeing that and saying, I can't create that in a masculine. This is the feminine energy coming into a point of energetic acceptance. That if the feminine energy does not see a masculine leading forth with a sense of energetic purpose, the feminine saying, it's not my responsibility to give them that task. It's not my responsibility to give them that energetic purpose. This is the feminine energy that almost is just utilizing their own powers of energetic observation. And what's hard about this for a lot of the feminine in separation, this is almost feminine energy that's looking at past versions of self and being like, if this was 4 months ago, if this was 4 years ago, I would have seen this person. I would have immediately stepped in. I would have immediately started giving them all of these like breadcrumbs. I would have immediately started doing everything I could to help this energy, as it were. Like find the path that I'm on. And this is why we see so much of this feminine energy right now in separation is going, I can't do that. I can't do that. Because this is feminine energy in separation that's energetically seen. They're just coming out of learning karmically what energetically occurs when you move with the masculine that enters the partnerships without having that sense of intensity or purpose. It's not like the energy comes into partnership and finds the energetic purpose once they've recognized that they don't need to have the energetic purpose being in the partnership. This is the feminine energy that's like, I recognize that when I move towards a masculine that doesn't have that intentionality or purpose, I just pour concrete on it. It doesn't go away. It's just the nature. That's the difference of, again, the feminine looking towards the masculine and saying, I see something in you I hope to bring out, versus the feminine energetically saying, stepping back and going, I see the potential. But it's not my responsibility to pull that potential out of you. That's something that you yourself need to do, because lots of things have energetic potential. It's whether someone is able to graft onto that energetic potential and do that hard work. This is the feminine energy saying, there may be a lot of potential there, but I can't do it for you. Masculine energy in separation. There could be this moment right now. Again, if you're going through periods or experiences wherein you're looking back at past versions of self, if you're having a lot of these energetic breakthroughs now, if you're building new energetic connections with feminine, if you're feeling like even now your level or degree of coming to the feminine from a state of authenticity is showing you a side of the feminine energy that you've never seen before, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. If you're not coming towards them with intentionality, you could almost see a lot of the feminine energy stepping back from you right now, because again, that's that moment that articulates that if you want to move into something that feels like a deeper connection with feminine, you need to show that investment point in wanting to go deeper. And where do we see deepening? How do we deepen an energetic connection? Through intimacy, through being able to blend the authenticity with the intentionality. So this is the masculine energy hitting that moment again of, again, potentially even feeling like there's a limitation point that's happening right now for some of the feminine, potentially even feeling some feminine energy that's stepping back from you, even at a time that you're just starting to build a connection with them, because they need to see that energetic intentionality. So even now we see that this is potentially a lot of the masculine in separation doing a lot of internal investigation and saying to oneself, either, what do I want? What am I truly invested in? Because if I don't make a choice, I just stay in the shallow end in everything. Or this is a masculine energy going, I want to go deeper. What is this within me that has such a hard time blending the intimacy with the intentionality? Why are these two things so hard to put together? Why is that so hard? Why don't they want to come together? Because again, that is that pathwork of healing. That is the pathwork of healing. That is the deep, intentional vulnerability. Fourth card, and that's where the healing begins. That's where the healing begins. Fourth card in our 5-card spread for today is, because when you move in that way, again, it feels like you're an open book, right? Masculine, when you move in that way, I can hear the masculine going, no, but if I blend the intentionality with the authenticity, I'm an open book. Yeah, isn't that what you want from the feminine? Isn't that what you want from the feminine? Isn't that what you want from the feminine? Like, if that's what you want from the feminine, you have to give it forth. You have to give it forth. You have to give it forth. Like, if you want that, you have to give it forth. And that's a lot of the feminine energy saying, basically, and this is the feminine energy seeing the masculine going through this journey and being like, I know it's hard. It's really hard. Feminine's like, feminine's like, I've been brought forth to be in that modality all the time. And that's that moment of saying, if you want that intimacy, if you want that blending of the authenticity with the honesty, you have to give it back in kind. So for both of these energies, the only thing we see that's happening right now that's a little different for some of the feminine energy in this experience is feminine's basically going, you first. Feminine's learning the resilience and going, you first. Show me that you've been able to learn that lesson. Show me that you've been able to master the art of intimacy. Show me that you know what intimacy is. And no, intimacy isn't a physical act. Show me that you have figured out how to blend the authenticity with the honesty, the intentionality with the authenticity with the intentionality. Show me that you have brought these together within yourself. Show me that you have made yourself energetically whole. And I will show you that I have made myself energetically whole. Masculine and feminine energy in separation. The problem or hurdle for a lot of this right now is, again, masculine being in this modality of feminine basically saying, I need to see that you can do that. Show me that you can. And that's something that you don't say, that you show it. You show it with how you move. You show it with how you speak. Because when you move into that state or space of living authentically, living with intentionality and purpose, it's not even something that you need to say. It's almost visible. It's like, it's tangible. It's visible. It's present. So we see even now that a lot of this energy is working through this. Feminine is a lot more of that energetic discernment. And I'm even saying right now, there's a lot of feminine energy right now that could be building very important connections with masculine. The intriguing thing about it right now is the feminine, maybe if the feminine isn't seeing that intentionality on the part of the masculine, this is the feminine putting a little bit of energetic distance in those connections, because this is the feminine that's trying to energetically protect their heart space. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now, this is that feeling of having energetically found that. This is the feminine, again, feeling the certainty of a masculine. This could even be a masculine saying, like the masculine, what is the masculine saying that their prioritization point is? The partnership. This is the masculine energy basically saying that their prioritization point is the energetic partnership. So we see even now that for the feminine energy, experiencing and identifying and seeing a masculine, that's almost like, again, coming from a point of vulnerability, potentially even expressing to the feminine how important the connection with the feminine is. That's not something that the feminine feels like they want to reject a masculine at a time of showing that point of intimacy. That is the feminine energy goes, oh my goodness, look, here's a masculine that's done that work, has mastered that ability of being intimate. that is not afraid to express their energetic fears to me. And for the feminine to hear that the masculine energy's fears are centered around potentially the partnership, that's the feminine feeling the energetic wave of commitment from a masculine. Because that is a masculine investing and saying, this is how important this is to me. This is where my anxieties lie. So we see even now for a lot of that energy, that is that energetic weight, if you will, being amplified in relationality to feeling that sense of energetic security. And it's all from the space of intimacy. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now. In the heart of the divine union frequency right now. What we are energetically seeing or recognizing, as it were, is this is that moment that feels like the energetic investment, if you will, in relationality to where you are presently and how you energetically go forward. What are we seeing right now for a lot of this energy in the heart of the divine union frequency? A lot of the work over the last few weeks, assessing, ascertaining, looking at how far you've come from moving into the divine union frequency and where you're energetically going right now. And a lot of this path work that we see that is occurring right now is built on that sense of feeling where stability lies. Even now, we see that there's a lot of expansive energy that's happening right now in the heart of the divine union frequency. And this is that moment that really feels like the amplification point energetically between what feels like it is creating that sense of excitement, positivity, abundance, versus what's creating that sense of anxiety, frustration, fear. Being able to assess and recognize if the things or the situations are creating that anxiety or fear. Is there something there that can be adjusted? Is there something there that can be tangibly changed? Or is this something that is happening internally? Because that effort, that work of energetic discernment, that is the difference in terms of recognizing what feels like it is moving forward in a positive, productive fashion that can allow for that amplification point in terms of recognizing that feeling of energetic abundance versus something that needs to be energetically navigated and modified. Because if you're not energetically feeling that positivity in the present, moving towards a manifestation goal, it's not like you're going to find that energetic frequency when you get there. You're just going to find yourself in the same energetic position. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Fifth card in our 5-card spread for today is, we have here our 9 of Wands. A lot of questions around intimacy coming up right now. These are very intimate conversations that are happening right now, even in the heart of the divine union frequency. Because this is that moment that, and I have to say, for the energy in the divine union frequency, it's almost, I want to say, like some of these conversations, they're almost like not necessary, because this is a moment that we see that the energy in the divine union frequency is so enmeshed, if you will, that you can kind of recognize the differences. And what is happening right now for a lot of the energy in the heart of the divine union frequency, this is almost that moment of energetically feeling and saying to someone, I know you better than you know yourself. Like, I know you better than you know yourself. I can tell when something is off. I can tell when something is energetically bothering you. So this is almost that moment that happens. I told you, this is why intimacy can feel so disruptive, and why I'm going to say not everyone wants to be in divine union, because this level and degree of intimacy, you have to be energetically ready for it. Because being in a space or place where someone can just see you and knows, they can read you like a book, they know what is energetically happening, it requires that ability to have that point of openness. And it doesn't mean that there aren't things here that can't be like opened up about, right? Even here we see the fact that there's something that's energetically happening for a lot of the energy in this frequency, wherein you're doing a lot of that internal unpacking. And what's happening now is the difference between ascertaining and looking at something externally and building into that sense of saying, like, there's parts of each of us that we can't necessarily reveal unless we express them. So we see even now, like, that sense of energetic care that's coming to the play right now for a lot of situations is based on the fact that this eclipse season is bringing up a lot of energetic intensity. It is intense energy. Intense energy is amplifying either that feeling of energetic excitement, which is good, or it's amplifying that feeling of anxiety, which is not positive. So being able to feel that larger expression of something that was small. Remember I kept saying that princess and the pea thing that's been happening over the last few weeks? Being able to recognize and identify that to a certain extent, being able to parse that out and say, how are you feeling right now? How is this expressing itself? Are we moving forward from a state of abundance and joy? If there's anxiety, let's not just diminish it. Let's just not put it away. Let's investigate it further. Let's understand if there's something in the present tangible space that can be modified and adjusted to ease that. Because if there isn't something that you can tangibly ease in the immediate material space, then that is an anxiety point that needs to be investigated and explored. Because that is the difference of, again, this is where that healing, this is some very precision point healing that we see that is occurring right now. And it's requiring a lot of that honest type of conversation. And it's hard because we can even see, even in the heart of the divine union frequency here, there's a little bit of even this feels like you're hitting some very sensitive subjects. You're hitting some things that are hard to discuss. But the ability to discuss hard things is also the superpower of the energy in the divine union frequency. Masculine and feminine energy coming into the divine union frequency. What we're effectively or energetically seeing right now is that feeling again, this is feeling like the doors are getting thrown open on a lot of energy right now coming into the divine union frequency. Because this is that moment that feels like this feels like the abundance moment. This is energy that feels like that is the deepening of the energetic commitment. And we see even now for some of the masculine energy moving forward in this way, it's energetically scary. Let's just be honest. It's frightening. Intimacy is a very frightening thing. There could be a lot of the masculine energy that's feeling a little bit of that, I want to say that cold feet, if you will, because that's that moment of recognizing that when you build forward from a place of honesty and clarity with feminine, it feels like there's not many hiding spaces. But that's that moment that, again, what is the energy of a healed masculine doing right now coming into divine union? Why would I need a hiding space? Why would I need an energetic hiding space when I'm building with someone from a place of honesty and openness and clarity? Because this is that moment that even when you have those points of doubting oneself, it doesn't create that moment of running away from the intensity of a situation because an abandonment wound got sprung or because you're starting to self-sabotage. This is the energy that pauses when they feel that point of anxiety and say, is this something that is leading me towards what I desire? Or is this something that is leading me away from what I desire? Because that is how a lot of the energy right now in the divine union frequency, especially a lot of the masculine, this is why we see a lot of the masculine energy almost overcoming their past expressions of potentially feeling like you may have accidentally or inadvertently self-sabotaged energetic connections that reach this level or degree of intensity for fear of the energetic intimacy that comes when you build forth in the heart of the divine union frequency. This could be a masculine even unpacking this right now with the feminine. I'm going to say it again. If there's a feminine energy right now that's navigating a masculine that is unpacking their own anxieties and fears at a time of coming into divine union, this is the feminine energy going, thank you. Because this is a feminine energy that's seeing a masculine that's having the ability to talk intimately about something that they're energetically afraid of is a huge sign of a masculine energy that is on the path of energetic healing. That is that's a masculine being I don't know if I can do this. And feminine's going, the fact that you're saying that, you're doing it. The fact that you're saying to me, I don't know if I can energetically do this, the fact that you're willing to unpack it with me, the fact that we're sitting here talking about these things, that is the energy of, again, the difference of you saying I don't know if I can do this, being I'm going through a lot of this processing, if you will, that's hard for me to navigate because I've never been this intimate with someone before. Right? That's the difference of someone being I can't do this, being I can't do this because it's too intense and I can't handle the big feels of being in divine union, versus someone saying effectively, this is a lot. I feel so much for you. I get all these fears that come up because I care about you so much. And it sometimes makes me feel like I'm going nuts. And even now, there's just so much happening and there's all these changes and I want to do all these things. This is the feminine going, keep talking. Because that's the feminine being that is the energy of seeing the feminine build masculine that builds that connective tissue with the feminine at a point that they start to feel that. They're working through it as opposed to just reacting to it. Masculine and feminine energy in separation. This is why the feminine energy is almost saying to themselves that they need to see a masculine energy that has that intentionality and has this purpose. Because this is the feminine energy, even in separation right now, looking back on past situations and scenarios and saying basically, if a masculine energy hasn't learned the act of intimacy that is required and being able to match the authenticity with the intentionality, then this is a masculine energy that has not learned to conquer their own fear of intimacy, which means that in any situation where an intimacy comes up, this energy will have the habit of self-sabotaging. This will be an energy that will move away from it. They'll move away from the uncomfortable thing instead of energetically confronting it. And this is why we see even now that this is the feminine energy that doesn't want to lead this horse to water, if you will, because this is the feminine energy saying, if this person hasn't learned how to navigate that point of internal bravery that is required to be able to push through their own anxiety and fear, because intimacy is a scary thing, then that's the feminine energy saying, I have to put some energetic distance here, because they're almost showing me now, whether they're intending to or not, that there's something here that someone is not able to navigate that territory. It's uncomfortable. It's requiring a level and degree of energetic discomfort. When we are open and honest, it feels like, it's not cozy. But that level and degree of not cozy, being able to endure that level or degree of discomfort for the sake of what comes on the other side of it, that effectively is why the feminine saying, this is feminine almost trying to see the masculine. And this is what's hard for a lot of the feminine energy in separation right now. There could be a lot of feminine energy that says, I think I know what they want. I think we're on the same page. But if they can't articulate it, then we're nowhere on the same page, because it requires the ability to ask for what you want in order to energetically receive it. Masculine energy in separation, what we're effectively energetically seeing here, this is a lot of the path work that a lot of this masculine energy right now, if you are in separation and you're doing a lot of this energetically healing and you're already seeing that leading forward right now with feminine, coming into that state or space of being truly authentic, that's half of it. That's half of that work. You're potentially feeling like those breakthroughs, but you're also potentially feeling like there may be a little bit of energetic distance here. And if you're leading towards the feminine with authenticity, lacking purpose, yes, you're going to build an authentic connection, but the feminine's going to have an authentic connection with you and be like, I care about this person. They seem very authentically, energetically confused. They seem like they have some issues prioritizing energy. They seem like they might be afraid of intimacy, which requires them to have a lot of shallow connections around them because they're worried about losing the other energetic connections when they move into a deepened, invested path with a particular energy, or they're just too energetically afraid of facing the intensity that's required to move through those difficult currents. So we see even now that for a lot of the masculine energy in this modality right now, this is beautiful. I know it's hard. I know it's energetically difficult, but this is that moment that may be doing a lot of invested personal investigation on your own self, on your own habits, on your own past experience. And especially if you're recognizing some of these avoidant patterns, if you will, potentially moving away from things when they feel like they become too intimate. This is that moment that we're almost energetically seeing to a certain extent, that a lot of that masculine energy and separation, you're doing that hard. This is healing. Healing is coming into that state or space of doing a lot of energetic unpacking around things that are hard to energetically unpack. That's that moment of being very open and honest with yourself. When we get open and honest with ourselves, when we really start to probe, we can really start to answer a lot of these questions prior to just making other people endure some of those confusing moments, right? When we find that point of confusion in ourselves, and even if someone articulates and says, there's something here that's confusing, that's that moment that creates an opportunity for us to investigate it, to get to the heart of it. And we see that a lot of this eclipse energy right now, for a lot of the masculine energy and healing, it's leading to a lot of that deeper understanding. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. between our Four of Pentacles in its reversal in combination with our Moon card. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with Lovers in its reversal. This is why this, I know you guys, I know this eclipse, listen, I know this eclipse energy is a little uncomfy. It's uncomfy. It can be a little uncomfy, but it's also very revealing. It's also building a lot of clarity. And for a lot of the energy and separation right now, this is like one of these moments that we're effectively seeing and recognizing and identifying that's helping you understand why some partnerships did not energetically work. A lot of insight coming through on this right now. And I'm seeing that it's happening across the board. That's a moment that feels like the mixture of taking personal accountability for your own role in what didn't energetically work, but also looking towards the outside energy with a sense of understanding as well. And what we appreciate about this right now for the energy and separation is creating that moment that feels like a balance point. It's not just putting all of that on one thing or another. It's taking that blend, the energy that's in healing. Whenever we come into healing, we never look at situations and say, oh, it was entirely that person's fault. It always takes two energies. So this ability to look with discernment on past experiences and even at present experiences with a sense of energetic acceptance. And what's important about this is not energy that's trying to put something there that they don't see there. This is why so much of this energy of feminine right now is standing a little bit back, if you will. Because this is feminine energy saying, if I don't see a masculine coming towards me from a state of intentionality, I'm not going to presume that that masculine energy has the ability to come towards anyone with intentionality. I'm not going to assume that I'm waiting for something that I don't see. I'm just going to assume that it's not there. This is the lesson. This is the eclipse lesson that is coming through right now for the feminine energy. Feminine is healing from their own ability to assume, to romanticize, to say, if I don't see the masculine giving me something, it's not because the masculine is hiding it behind their back and just waiting to reveal it. Maybe it's just not there. Probably it's just not there. And so what we see here for a lot of the energy, this is why we see so much of the feminine energy is healing right now. But it's difficult energetic healing because this is the feminine energy looking at things with a lot of energetic reality and saying, like, again, I'm not going to romanticize someone withholding. I'm just going to assume they don't have something. I'm not going to get wistful and say, like, oh, maybe they've got this like deep yearning that they're not communicating with me. And if I just stick around long enough, they'll tell me. Maybe they just don't. This is the feminine energy saying, I'm not going to reflect my own self on the masculine unless they show me that it's there. And so we see a lot of the feminine energy. Like, this is a lot of that healing that's coming through on this. Masculine energy in separation. This is that modality where, again, if you're trying not to lead forward from a place of illusion around the feminine, that's hard, right? Because that's that moment that you have to recognize that when you're authentic, that's only one half of it. Because that's that moment if you're being authentic and you're confused, well, then guess what? All you're showing the feminine is that you're authentic and you're confused. Don't be surprised if a feminine moves you into a friend space, because all you're doing right now is communicating to them that you're authentically confused. Feminine energy, masculine energy, you may be recognizing right now why, again, some path work in the past may have created that moment. But what's hard for the masculine energy in this modality is, again, if these were moments, and this is what we're seeing here, if you felt something, but you couldn't communicate it, if you had that hard part of not being able to blend the intimacy with the authenticity, this is why we see so much of this energy right now. The masculine is trying to work through this right now in separation, because this is the masculine energy saying, again, if I separate these places, if I put these things in different places, and the reason is because I don't want to give someone that much energetic power over me. See what's happening there? See what's happening there? That's that moment of saying, I'm afraid of intimacy. I'm afraid of intimacy. I'm afraid of blending these two spaces. Because that's that moment of, again, this is that energetic unpacking as to why, right? This is getting to the heart of that. This is a lot of internal exploration. But what's so beautiful for a lot of the masculine energy right now is you may be looking now at something that was happening internally that you're now recognizing was having some kind of deep impact on your external partnerships. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now. This is that modality that you're able to come into divine union because you're doing that unpacking. You're going through this right now. Even now, we see a lot of this energy coming into divine union. This is like the energetic rubber meeting the road, if you will. This is that moment that really feels like you're getting into the heart of building forward with someone. And this is that moment that, like, what happens when we mesh, when we bring our lives together in this way. It's like we see all parts of ourselves, right? There's little that can be hidden in this way, because that's that moment of basically saying, like, we become like that intimacy becomes shared. And for a lot of the energy right now coming into divine union, experiencing that level or degree of intimacy is either something that feels like you're having a personal milestone in confronting your own self-sabotaging behaviors and proceeding forward anyway through it. Or this is a moment that we are identifying and recognizing, wherein we're seeing that a lot of this energy right now is having that moment of observing and understanding what didn't work in the past at a moment that you're building in that way with someone in the present. Masculine and feminine energy that is in the heart of the divine union frequency. What we are energetically seeing to a certain extent is this is that moment that feels like there's a lot of energetic discernment that's happening for a lot of the energy at the heart of the divine union frequency right now, because this is that moment of having these very deep, intense conversations, because this is the moment of recognizing and seeing the feeling. A lot of this energy in the heart of the divine union has been with each other for long enough that you almost know each other intensely or intimately to such an extent that you can tell when there's anything that feels like some kind of energetic dysregulation here. So what we're seeing and identifying to a certain extent is this moment or this modality being able to recognize and ascertain is coming into that space or place of saying, it doesn't matter, we can be in the same tangible space together. We could be having very different experiences. So that's why we see so much of this energy right now in the heart of the divine union frequency is doing a lot of that, either internal exploration on how you feel, or externally saying, are we on the same energetic page? Because that's that moment of saying, I know that we're moving together, but are we feeling the same way? Are we in that energetic, are we still in the same energetic frequency? Or are we going through something right now and wanting to avoid a circumstance or situation that would feel like you're falling out of alignment, which would be, again, frequencies that are moving together, but they're not in alignment energetically. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Moon card in combination with our 10 of Cups in its reversal. Clarification coming through right now with the Hermit. I mean, that's what's so hard about this right now. Even, I got to stress, even for the energy in the divine union frequency, I got to tell you, it's not like there isn't that moment. It's not like you don't have a solitary experience, even if you're in the divine union frequency. There's always that like uncrossable bridge, if you will, between the experience of the self versus the experience that we share with another. And we see even now that a lot of that work in the divine union frequency, this is why we see a lot of this, may feel like a lot of that in like energetic inquiry or investigation, if you will, in trying to get to the heart of something. Because what we're really seeing right now for a lot of this energy is this moment or this like driving forth, if you will, in relationality to understanding that complex space within each of us. So even now we see that this is one of those moments, especially if this is energy in the divine union frequency, saying like, it's hard for me to explain how I feel right now. This is like the type of energy being like, can you try? Can you try? Because this is that moment that feels a lot like that sense of like, it's that Princess and the Pea quality. It's that moment of looking towards someone and saying something, something about our experiences feels a little bit different. I'm trying to understand if that is something that is happening on the external, or if this is happening on the internal. Is this something that is like navigable or adjusted for on the outside, or is this something that's happening on the inside? So even now we see that there's that moment that requires, this is a lot of that energetic fine tuning, if you will. Masculine and feminine energy coming into the divine union frequency right now. This is feeling like you're building this intimacy together, like brick by brick right now. This is that moment that you feel like that energetic connection. This is what's propelling a lot of this energy, just trying to put it into like the present. And a lot of it feels like this is that moment. Like this is a massive amount of energy coming into divine union right now, and just going like all in energetically to a certain extent. Because what we're almost seeing is that moment or opportunity that's the amplification point, if you will, in feeling that energetic connection with someone, feeling that sense of being your most authentic version of self. What happens when we do that? We build that sense of intimacy. We feel like the more we show, the tighter the connection comes. Like that moment of feeling like, again, someone recognizing and building forth and saying, I love you for your imperfections. There's nothing that you've shown me that I don't want more of. Like that's that feeling or that energetic sense of like something that's like growing here. And for a lot of these energies, this could be like a huge magnification or amplification in terms of how much you're investing in something right now, because you're having that feeling like, and again, if you're doing that work, that's because you've also done the work of intimacy. You're able to show those parts towards another. So even now, this is like the reward energetically for the work of someone doing that work to be their most authentic version of self, experiencing someone who is also doing their work, being their most authentic expression of self, being able to build intimacy with each other because you've done the work in being able to build intimacy and not going through self-sabotaging behaviors. And then, again, is it easy, or are you coming into alignment in that moment of finding that energetic equivalent that the more you show, the more you feel that connective tissue is there? Because that's the difference in feeling like you need to like change for someone versus feeling like you found someone that is for you. And that doesn't mean that we don't stop changing, but it does mean that we feel that energetic counterpart in terms of understanding that that change isn't necessary to facilitate a connection point. It's one that you just want to magnify more what you're receiving. Masculine and feminine energy in separation right now. This is why so much of this masculine and feminine energy in separation, it's a little bit of like different path work right now. Feminine energy, again, recognizing and identifying. Feminine is very good at blending the authentic with the honest. What's feminine energy doing right now? Feminine energy is holding back on that to a certain extent. Feminine energy is almost saying, I know I can do this. Can you do this? Because that's a feminine energy that's almost now looking at their gift of being able to blend authenticity with intentionality and saying, that's a gift. That is a gift I give. That is a gift I build with. Are you going to match me in that modality? Are you going to match me in that frequency? Have you worked on that in yourself enough that you can also share your dream? Because the feminine's like, I'm very good at sharing my dream. Can you share your dream with me so we can share those dreams together? Masculine energy and separation right now. This could be a moment that feels like a lot of internal investigation, especially if masculine. This is either that moment that you're trying to figure out what it is that dream is. What is it that purpose is? It's requiring a lot of internal investigation. Or if this is masculine energy that has this dream but has a hard time revealing it, this is the masculine energy and separation investigating that within themselves and saying, why? Why is it so hard for me to be open to the feminine? Why is it so hard to me to say I can be authentic, but to a point? Because that's the difference between, like, again, saying I'm being honest. Honesty only gets you halfway there. You have to be honest and you have to be intentional. Honest and intentional, that is harder. Being able to do that is what allows for something truly magical to happen. But it requires both energies to be in the space or place to be able to facilitate and receive that. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between able to facilitate and receive that. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between Queen of Pentacles. We've got here with our Queen of Pentacles energy a lot of this work that we're seeing right now, masculine and feminine energy, doing this important work in separation. Feminine energy, building this sense of stability for themselves at this time, doing a lot of this energetic work, building this sense of, again, what is the feminine energy in separation doing right now? Working through a lot of that sense of energetic stability to a certain extent. And for a lot of the feminine energy, this is that modality where, again, the feminine, we don't see a feminine here trying to rush forward and give the masculine what their dream is. This is a feminine energy that's almost staying very focused on that and having that state or space effectively of recognizing and identifying and saying the masculine, when the masculine's moving in that same vibration, it's not something that you can energetically miss. This is a feminine energy again. And this is almost potentially even now like a lot of the feminine energy, if they're seeing the masculine coming towards them in this way, but it feels like that lack of intentionality is there. Feels more like there's that fickleness or that uncertainty. The feminine energy is like, I don't want to lose my energetic concentration, because this is a lot of feminine energy in this modality right now that has been doing a lot of work in building back that feeling of energetic stability. And that energetic stability that they've been building and creating for themselves in separation, it's creating a lot of energetic clarity. Masculine energy in separation right now. This is that moment that we see and recognize for you as well. That feeling or that intensity that we're effectively seeing right now for a lot of the masculine in separation is that energetic reminder, if you will, in terms of situations or circumstances wherein, again, you may even be feeling right now that there's some sense right now of, again, wanting to move toward, this is the masculine energy saying to a certain extent in separation, if I want something from the feminine, I need to lead with it. If I want stability from the feminine, I need to offer stability. If I've received instability from a feminine, I need to ask myself, did I give something to the feminine that made them feel like they had to give me back instability? Because this is the masculine energy right now, potentially doing a lot of this work in separation and recognizing that, like, if you don't move with that intentionality, that almost can create that point of energetic fracturing. Because the feminine energy can always tell when you're not moving towards them with that level or degree of intentionality. So this is, again, the masculine saying, I can't fake that. This is the masculine going through the healing. And this is that moment that if you felt like you may have been trying to in the past, you may be recognizing and identifying and saying, oh, well, that gives me a lot of clarity as to why someone may have put some emotional or energetic distance from me, because they were missing that intentionality point. They were missing that sense. So we see even now, that's the masculine energy potentially recognizing that if you come towards the feminine with honesty, but you're honestly confused, that's the feminine energy being like, all I can see is that you're saying to me that you're honestly, authentically, energetically confused, right? That's the difference of the feminine saying, well, I mean, this is the feminine saying, I'm not energetically confused. This is feminine energy saying, I know what it is I'm trying to create. Masculine and feminine energy in the heart of the divine union, coming into the divine union frequency. But I mean, this energy is moving very quickly into the heart of it. This is the masculine energy that's recognizing that the reason that we need intentionality is intentionality, purpose drives us forward when confidence does not. When we start feeling anxious, when we start feeling fear, when we start feeling uncertain, having that sense of purpose is often what guides us forward. What's happening right now for a lot of the masculine energy coming into the heart of the divine union frequency? Where's that purpose coming from? I don't know much. I know one thing, right? That's a lot of this energy right now that's even right now encountering and experiencing a lot of that previous behavior that may have made you feel like you were self-sabotaging in the past. But this is almost, again, what's beautiful about this is the masculine energy doing work on their own self for the sake of deepening and building a more authentic connection with the feminine that they're building with. And this is a feminine energy, again, feeling and experiencing that, even helping a masculine through some of their own energetic uncertainty. But what's important about this is not a masculine in this modality saying to the feminine, I'm energetically uncertain of you. This is the masculine energy in coming into divine union that says, I have uncertainty about myself. This is the masculine energy saying, I have doubts about myself. And that's the feminine energy saying, you're doing the work. You're not pushing that on someone else. You're not saying effectively or energetically, I have doubts about this. I have doubts about you. This is the energy of the energy. This is the feminine energy seeing the masculine divine union saying, I worry about my own capacity to maintain something. I worry about my own feelings of anxiety. I worry about my own feelings of fear. And this is the feminine energy saying, I don't. Because your ability to articulate that and not project it out onto others, your ability to take your own blast, to bring it back towards yourself when you're feeling that, not subjecting others to it, doing that internal review, saying to myself, what do I need to fix within myself? This is the feminine being like, you're perfect. Like, this is the feminine saying to masculine, you're perfect. Because your own ability to assess your imperfections, your own ability to assess your imperfections makes you energetically perfect. And these are the energies starting to act as the clear mirror for one another. This is the feminine showing to the masculine. And again, here's that clear mirror in effect, saying the only thing I see wrong with you is that you think that taking that accountability is a negative. And feminine saying, that's the reason I move with you. Because I know that you don't project that out onto others. You don't look around and say the rest of the world is wrong and I'm right. You say, what do I need to change within myself? What do I need to get better? What do I need to improve? What do I need to fix? Masculine and feminine energy in the heart of the divine union frequency. This is a lot of that energy doing a lot of that difficult path work right now. This is the hurdle that we see that a lot of the energy in the divine union is effectively or energetically working on. Feminine, continuing to work on that, building that sense of stability. Stability is something that exists within us. Stability is something that we generate within. It does not come from without. Masculine, building that sense of energetic confidence in the self. Both of them feeling energetically tested to a certain degree because, guys, we're in the middle of an eclipse season with Mercury retrograde at play. It's heavy energy. It creates a lot of space for self-review. What is this energy doing right now? Building upon that, building the positive, amplifying the positive, discerning what creates that sense of anxiety, discerning what creates that sense of instability, asking oneself, is that something that can be adjusted, modified for, or is that something that needs to be internally navigated? Both of these energies helping each other along the way, having those difficult conversations, energetically unpacking things as you were. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Knight of Swords in its reversal in combination with our Nine of Wands in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with, it's hard work. It's hard energetic work. We've got here our Three of Swords. This is difficult, right? Because again, this is that moment that we see even for the energy in the divine union frequency. That is the amplification, if you will, on what feels like you can tangibly change versus what you feel that you can energetically carry. And we see even now that for a lot of the energy in this modality, being able to identify and recognize what you feel like you can energetically change versus what you feel like you have to energetically carry, that's hard work. That's difficult, right? But that's the energetic burden that we see that a lot of the energy in the heart of the divine union frequency works through, right? It's not that everything is perfect, but we do the best we can with what we got. So we see even now that a lot of this energy right now is doing a lot of that type of work and energetically unpacking the difference between what one feels one can energetically navigate versus what needs some kind of external modification point. So we see even now like that ability to balance that to a certain extent, that is helping a lot of the energy move forward in the heart of the divine union frequency, but they're doing it with a huge amount of care and empathy. Because that is that moment that feels like, again, that's that moment of being able to share that energetic burden. The gift of the divine union frequency is feeling like you're not doing that in an isolated space. You're carrying it together. Masculine and feminine energy coming into the divine union frequency right now. This is that modality of feeling like even now you're building forth in this way. And it's not that everything was energetically perfect prior to this point, but now it feels like, even though, like, again, it's one of those moments I'm seeing, it's not the fact that you would ever want something negative to occur, but something that may have caused you some level or degree of grief or hardship in the past. Now feels like there's some way that you can build that sense of present closure by giving it some point of energetic validation, right? That's what we call wisdom. Being able to take the lessons from the past and put them into application in a way that feels like it creates some measure of energetic catharsis and saying, I understand now how those lessons have helped me reach where I am energetically today. That is so energetically painful and difficult. It doesn't ease the energetic pain, right? It doesn't ease the energetic grief of what you've energetically left behind coming into divine union. But it does create the catharsis of energetic satisfaction in the present. I told you that's that feeling of nostalgia, if you will. Masculine and feminine energy in separation right now. This is that energy that feels like even now what's difficult about this is there's a lot of energy right now, especially the feminine, that may be feeling like the stirrings of new possibilities happening around them right now with some masculine energy that's coming towards them. But if the feminine energy isn't seeing the amount of energetic conviction, that sense of purpose, matching the openness of some of the energy, because this is what the feminine's seeing right now. They're seeing potentially a lot of masculine energy being very authentic, but potentially lacking that intentionality in terms of what they aspire and desire for with the feminine. This is the feminine that's almost like saying, I'm not going to energetically proceed down that path, assuming that that is going to arrive. This is the feminine almost saying, I need to see that prior to building an energetic connection. Masculine energy, if you are in separation, there is that moment that, again, if you're leading forth towards feminine, this could be a moment of recognizing if you've led forth towards feminine, you're just being completely open about the fact that you don't know where you're going, or you don't know what you want, or you don't know what you're doing. That could be like understanding potentially some path work in the past that may have just helped you recognize why you've been going through. Like, this could be feeling like that self-sabotaging behavior in terms of identifying and recognizing that when you leave yourself energetically open to everything, you leave yourself like, it's like it's painful, because that's that moment that, like, you may have been feeling. I can see why this is so conflicting for the masculine, because this is the masculine saying, I wasn't really revealing what I truly wanted. I was just leaving myself open to everything. But that's actually a different kind of vulnerability, because that just leaves yourself open to be energetically hurt more, because that's that moment that, again, either you're moving forward from a state of energetic confusion and just like wait and see in terms of your own path work, or it's a moment that may have led to spaces or places where you recognize that you had a dream and desire, but it was too difficult for you to energetically share it. Like, it takes that point. Like, it's hard to come into that, because that's that moment of identifying like what bravery really is. Like, bravery is that moment of being able to, again, lead forth with authenticity and intimate and clarity. Having the intimacy to be able to reveal a dream is how we have that dream energetically fulfilled. And that, even now, we see that a lot of the masculine energy, having that point of recognition, could be the beginning of some kind of energetic mending. But it might be a very painful energetic realization in the process. So giving yourself space to navigate that is really important as you proceed forward from this point. Because, again, if you're just learning a lesson, you don't want to fault yourself for learning it. You have to thank the version of you that brought you forth to be able to understand it. Continuing to get clarification on our Lover's card in combination with our Hermit, may I please have one card to clarify? This is a lot of that energy and separation right now here. We've got here our Emperor in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy right now in separation. This is why we see so much of this feminine energy right now. This is why this is so difficult, potentially. Feminine energy being in this moment. And this is what's so hard. This is the feminine energy saying, I'm not teaching any more lessons. This could even be feminine energy that feels like they've been doing a lot of path work where they've been helping a lot of masculine energy in partnership. And this is the feminine energy that's kind of gone through some kind of experience right now. If this is feminine energy that like saw what they aspired or desired in a connection with masculine, this is the feminine energy saying, again, there's a difference between, this is feminine energy holding space to say, I can see the energetic potential in someone. But if someone else, if they can't see that energetic potential in themselves, then nothing I do will facilitate that occurring. That needs to exist. It needs to be that moment of someone being able to find their own energetic potential, if you will. Because this is the feminine energy saying, if I don't, then I facilitate that energy staying in a place where they never find their potential. So we see even now that that's really difficult for the feminine. And even now it might be requiring the feminine to step away from some energetic connections right now if they feel like someone's coming towards them with a sense of that uncertainty. Because this is the feminine energy saying, I see that potential in you. But if you don't see it within yourself, if you can't bring it forth to me, if you can't be clear about what you energetically want, I can't show you what my vision for you is. Because feminine energy is just recognizing that their ability to see the energy in another person does not mean that that person has mastered the ability to bring it out within their own self. Masculine in separation right now. This is why we see so much of the masculine energy in separation right now. You may be doing a lot of this energetic path work in terms of thinking about your higher purpose right now. This is a lot of the masculine energy in separation, really doing a lot of intense work, asking oneself what it is that you truly aspire and desire. And what's beautiful about this for a lot of the masculine energy in separation, you're not just doing this in relationality to partnership, you're asking it about your own self. This is like a massive amount of self-investigation that's occurring right now for masculine energy in separation, because this is that moment of saying, who do I aspire to be? What do I aspire to be? And what do the relationships around me, what does that look like? What is my highest self? What is my highest aspiration of self? And this is a lot of that work of masculine, doing that and recognizing and saying, I need to know what that is before I come into partnership. Because this is that sense of either understanding why not having that may have led to the dissolution of some partnerships prior to this point, or how creating a false version of self led to a lot of partnerships that felt like they weren't in alignment to you because you weren't being authentic about what you really desired and aspired for. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. This is that energetic equivalent of understanding what didn't work in your past path work at the time of energetically receiving it. For feminine, this could be feeling like the alignment, the difference between building with a masculine that's done this work of creating the ability to navigate energetic intimacy. For masculine, this could be feeling like that breakthrough point in terms of feeling like what you're building with the feminine right now, you're doing on your own 2 feet. You're doing it because you are embodying that. You recognize that that was the work that you are bringing yourself up as you were. And even now we see a lot of the masculine energy. Like, what is this energy doing? They're trying to energetically rise to the challenge, if you will, to maintain that type of connection. But that's the beauty of an energy in this space. This isn't masculine energy. This isn't a masculine that's saying, I need to pretend to be someone I'm not. This is masculine saying, I worry about my own ability to hold on to this. I worry about my own sense of self, but that's because you care about it. And the things we care about, we fret over, right? That's the difference between the anxiety that we feel we can always find a solution for, that sense of anxiety that drives us forward in a productive way, that sense of care, that fastidiousness, versus, again, energy coming into the divine, in the heart of the divine union, that unnameable anxiety, what feels like it is overwhelming a circumstance or situation. And we see even now a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency, feeling that amplification point right now that the eclipse is bringing on, in combination with the Mercury retrograde, which is again that point of basically saying and experiencing and feeling something and saying, is that amplifying the positive? Is it amplifying the excitement? Or is it magnifying too much of that anxiety? Is too much of that anxiety overwhelming a circumstance or situation and feels like it's creating something that doesn't feel like it's growing so much as it feels like it's becoming too limiting? So we see even now like the ability to ascertain what feels like it is energetically positive versus what needs to be addressed because it's creating anxiety instead of excitement right now is a lot of the energy that we see that is utilizing that pathwork of discernment right now for a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now, between our Hermit card in combination with our Queen of Pentacles, may I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our High Priestess in its reversal. So that's what we're effectively seeing right now that's happening. And do you see how even in the divine union frequency right now, these energies are effectively matching one another in relationality to what they're experiencing? Bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, like what we're effectively or energetically seeing at this time is this space or place where, again, we've got like, look at these energies going through this process of energetic discernment right now. Because what we're effectively seeing at this time is the energy in the divine union frequency is working so fastidiously on navigating that highest version of self that it's creating that moment or opportunity of doubting one's own self, doubting one's own possibility. But what is so important about this right now? There is what we identify and articulate as healthy doubting, right? That practical assessment, that practical modification point, looking at something, saying, I know how I can adjust this. I know how I can do a little bit better. I know what I want to do a bit better. Versus letting that anxiety, letting that doubt overpower you to a point that it doesn't feel like it's bringing you forth into a place of energetic positivity. So what are these energies right now in the heart of the divine union frequency doing right now to help one another? Are they holding back on that? Are they like doubting themselves and not saying? No, they're articulating and they're amplifying it. They're almost expressing it to one another. And they're immediately getting that level or degree of energetic validation, if you will. Basically, again, the energy acting as a clear mirror and saying, I doubt myself too. But I would energetically tell you if there's something that I see here that wasn't in alignment, if there's something here that was like requiring that correction. So we see even now, this is that moment that is, and I have to stress this here. This is that moment of energetic compassion that a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency is going through right now, that is like articulating the difference between saying, are you energetically happy? Like, are you energetically happy? Because that's why we see a lot of this moon card energy coming through right now, because there's the difference between how someone is energetically carrying something versus how someone is, again, navigating through something, right? So we see even now, like, that's that moment that like someone is basically, we're seeing here the energy in divine union is saying, this is what I can show you. But none of that is as important as how you energetically feel. Continuing to get clarification on this right now, for the energy right now in coming into the divine union frequency, again, this is that modality, if you will, that we are seeing that is amplifying what feels like it is productive, what feels like it is creating that sense of positivity. And even now we're seeing that for a lot of the energy, look at this, a lot of the energy right now coming into divine union, having some amazing energetic breakthroughs, if you will. This is energy that is recognizing their own past pathwork, looking at it with a level or degree of accountability. For feminine energy, identifying and recognizing those spaces and places wherein, again, feminine building forth with masculine that is able to amplify their own sense of what they want on their own path and purpose right now. This is energy that is building together. This is feminine feeling the stability within the self, holding fast to that. And that's not that's a feminine energy that didn't effectively energetically trust that something was there that wasn't showing itself to be there. That was the feminine energy almost recalibrating and remembering the spaces or places where they waited for something to appear that they hoped or aspired to receive from the masculine, but they never saw any evidence of being there. This is the feminine energy almost feeling the validation point of having energetically waited for masculine energy to find them on that energetic journey. This isn't a feminine energy that had to wait for the masculine to bring something forth. This is the feminine energy that built forth with masculine, that offered that and showed the feminine that they had that capacity to desire that. Masculine energy, if this is something that you did, that's because you went through that path of intimacy, really being able to focus on what it is that you wanted, being able to build forth in that way. And for a lot of the masculine energy, this may feel like, again, a hard-fought path. This could even be a moment of identifying and recognizing what it may have energetically took to learn how to come into that ability. And even now we see for a lot of the masculine energy, that's that moment of energetic nostalgia coming into play to a certain extent. But it's also that recognition point of, again, what do we do when we're moving forward in a state or space of positivity? We look back with that sense of energetic nostalgia. We feel the weight. We hold the compassion for what we had to energetically go through and lose, if you will, in order to find ourselves. So even now, this could be a lot of the masculine energy, feeling that bittersweet feeling as they move forward into divine union, in identifying and recognizing like what it energetically took to learn these valuable lessons. But this is energy that's staying very committed forward on that pathwork, because this is energy of masculine that has the intentionality. Masculine energy in separation right now, this is why we see so much of this energy right now, is having a lot of this energetic breakthrough, if you will, in relationality to understanding what is achievable when you build forward from a state of honesty and clarity with feminine. This could even be masculine energy recognizing that there may have been feminines in the past that tried to say this to you, but you weren't necessarily understanding it, right? Or you weren't energetically like, that's that difference. That's that resistance point. This is why we see even now, like if there's a masculine energy in separation in this way, this ability to decide which direction to move into. This is why we see so much of this work right now is masculine trying to ascertain what it looks like. Because this is, again, I got to be honest, there's masculine energy right now in separation. If you're coming through a point of energetic breakthrough, this is a little bit of that backwards or forwards moment, because this is the masculine saying, this understanding, is this something that I can go into a pathwork of trying to correct for, trying to fix something from the past, now that I energetically understand a lesson that someone was trying to give me? Or do I take this lesson forward? So we see even now a lot of that energy of masculine. Like I told you, the GPS is on. It's just trying to decide which energetic direction to move into, as it were, because this is the energy of the masculine going, where do I take this lesson, while also recognizing and understanding that you have to move forward with intentionality, especially if some of that lack of intentionality was what caused you to fall into separation in the first place. Feminine energy in separation right now. This is why we see even now the feminine energy is building that sense of needing to see the masculine coming towards them from a state of intentionality. Because this is the feminine energy, again, almost picking up in separation, especially if there's masculine that's leading forth from a state of honesty and seeing a lot of energetic breakthroughs. This is feminine energy saying, I want to make sure that you're not going forwards and backwards. This is feminine recognizing and saying, if you're having a breakthrough point, you might decide to take that breakthrough point and go try to fix something with someone. You need to decide which direction you're going in. This is the feminine energy saying, I'm not available. This isn't an optional thing. This isn't something about like trying to like see what is out there or see what can fix. This is a feminine energy saying you need to decide which direction you want to go into. And that's why we see even now that for a lot of the feminine energy, there's a little bit of this like hands-off approach. If there's a masculine that feels like they're coming towards them more with like this is the retrograde energy, someone being like, how you doing? Just checking up on you kind of thing. And feminine being like, fine. Because that's the intentionality. It needs the intentionality. It needs the intentionality of feminine being like, what do you want? What is it? What would you like? Are you going to be able to articulate it, or are you just seeing what's out there? Right? Masculine. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Queen of Pentacles in combination with our Three of Swords. This is feminine energy protecting their heart space right now. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with Temperance in its reversal. I told you everyone's got to watch out about being triggered right now, because I'm telling you right now, a little bit of triggering energy here. I told you this eclipse energy in combination with the Mercury retrograde. It's heavy stuff. If you're feeling annoyed, you're going to feel really annoyed. If you're feeling happy, you're going to feel really happy. If you're feeling mad, you're going to feel really mad. And the possibility for miscommunications is rampant. So we see even now, this is the feminine energy right now. Like, this is feminine energy, almost like taking a little bit of an energetic step back, if you will. And the bright side about this for a lot of the feminine energy and separation is almost observing and saying to oneself, I'm not even going to get started. I'm not even going to get started, because this is the feminine energy. It's almost like doing that path work. If there's a masculine that's coming towards her from a state of confusion, this is almost a feminine energy being like bite, like this is the energetic biting of the tongue, if you will, and being like, I'm going to stop myself before I start, because I can already tell that this is not going to go in the right direction. Like, this is the energy being like, this is the feminine energy holding things very energetically close to their chest right now in separation. But this is almost the feminine energy saying, I'd rather not say anything than say something I might energetically regret saying. Like, that's basically the energy of the feminine being like, I'm going to stop myself before I start, because, when I get started, it's probably not good. This is the feminine energy literally saying, I'm going to stop before I start, because, if I get started, don't even try to stop me, kind of thing. Like, it's really giving a lot of that, if you will. So a lot of the feminine energy right now potentially biting their tongue, if you will, on things, especially if there's some energy right now. They're potentially seeing some masculine energy coming towards them from a state of like energetic trepidation or confusion, or even like potentially trying to find like some kind of like, around the like circuitous route to having a conversation about what the feminine wants to have a conversation about. This is the feminine energy almost making that determinative factor of being like, well, that doesn't seem very intentional. That doesn't seem very intentional. Like, that's the moment. Like, it's giving a lot of the feminine energy in separation, having a bit of that like state your business kind of mentality. Like, state your business. Masculine energy in separation right now. You may be feeling this on the part of a lot of the feminine energy around you. You may be feeling like a lot of this right now is like, feminine energy, just like staying in their own energetic lane right now, not chasing after, not trying to demand. And even now we see that for a lot of the masculine energy. I got to stress, there's something about this masculine energy in separation right now. It may feel a little energetically painful, because I told you, this is that moment that you may recognize and identify that there's some path work here with the feminine, but it's that feeling of not wanting to energetically mess it up, right? We're almost seeing here that there's something about this that like, this is the masculine energy being like, this is either masculine energy, if there's already been some path work here that needs correction, this is masculine energy trying to like really ascertain how to fix something, knowing that they're only going to really get one energetic shot to fix something. Or this is masculine energy right now that's already feeling like if there's a new feminine energy around them, that they're seeing there's something, that feminine energy closing up right now, potentially because there's something that feels like a little bit of an energetic conflict point in relationality to like not wanting to waste their time, right? So for a lot of the masculine energy right now, it feels like, again, I want to say it almost feels like that ability to like build forth with feminine, like there's a very tight window that's happening here. It's not like something that feels like it's expansive. It feels like you're getting like a little bit of time to really kind of like, a lot of that's why we see so much of this masculine is recognizing that honesty and openness isn't energetically enough. It needs to be the matching of the intentionality. Because this is the feminine energy saying, like, I don't have time for energy that doesn't know what they want. Masculine and feminine energy in the divine union frequency, that's that feeling of, again, the feminine feels that validation point of saying, like, this isn't feminine energy coming into divine union because they waited for the masculine to bring this forth. This is the feminine energy feeling the validation point and recognizing and identifying and saying, I didn't stick around in places and spaces where it wasn't present. This is the feminine energy feeling the grief potentially on receiving something in this way that, like, even at the time that you receive it, it energetically hurts because it reminds you of all the spaces and places that you feel like you wanted that and you didn't necessarily receive it. Masculine energy coming into divine union right now. This is that moment that, again, this feels like the conquering of one's own self, because this is a moment that even now we see that masculine, you feel some of that anxiety coming into play right now. This could be feeling like that intensification point. But what is the masculine energy right now coming into divine union doing? Are you self-sabotaging? Or are you exploring that feeling? If you're looking at something and saying, I want this, why do I feel this anxiety? This is you energetically unpacking some of that fear with the feminine, building with the feminine. It doesn't mean that you just pretend that everything is fine all the time. You have a space. You're building that energetic tissue with the feminine. You're building that connective moment and saying, I have doubts, I have fears. But what is happening right now for the energy of the masculine that's doing this work right now with feminine? This isn't the masculine saying in the divine union frequency, I've got doubts and fears about you. This is the fat masculine saying, I've got doubts and fears about my own self, my own ability to do what I'm trying to do, to create what we're trying to create together. And this is the feminine, if receiving that, saying, you're already doing it because you're not projecting that on me. You're not saying that this is a situation that you're questioning the path that we're on because you're feeling like this. And for a feminine, this is almost a feminine saying to a masculine, the fact that you've come through that like gauntlet of feeling something and not letting it run, like drive you in the same different direction, but facing your own energetic fears of the self, that is intimacy. You've been able to conquer your own fear of intimacy. And this is the feminine saying, we can do anything. We'll be able to navigate anything. This is the feminine saying there's nothing to worry about, because if you've done that, we can navigate anything going forward. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now, between the Emperor in its reversal with the High Priestess in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with, look at this. Look at this energy supporting each other in the heart of the divine union frequency. So the energy in the heart of the divine union frequency, what happens? Speaking towards your doubts, your fears, this energy does not feel like they are perfect. This energy feels like they hold themselves to a very high standard. What happens when we hold ourselves to a very high standard? We're very hard on ourselves. We're very energetically hard on ourselves because we hold ourselves at an energetically high standard. What is the energy in the divine union frequency doing right now? If you're doubting yourself and they're speaking towards each other and they're doubting themselves, they're saying you're doubting yourself because you hold yourself to a very high energetic standard. And this is the energy acting as a clear mirror, supporting each other through that, almost saying to one another, if there was something here that was out of alignment, I would be the first one to tell you. I'd tell you if there was something on your shirt. I'd tell you if there was something that needs to be fixed. But this is the difference between the energy looking at something and saying right now, energetically, you're perfect. The only thing we need to be mindful of, and this is, again, that's why we see so much of this unpacking that's happening right now in the heart of this eclipse with the combination of the Mercury retrograde, is saying, is there something internally that is happening? Because that's something, if you're feeling that, if you're letting that anxiety point override your feeling of energetic joy, if it's not creating that space or place of adjustment, but it's overriding your energetic feeling, that's the difference between moving forward from a state or space of energetic joy and feeling the excitement of coming into better alignment versus feeling that sense of never feeling like you're overwhelming yourself with your own doubts and fears. So we see even now, like that moment is the energetic compassion point in saying, I can only take you that far. I can only support you in this way. I can only give you so much energetic support. You need to be able to find it within yourself, right? Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union. This is that energetic equivalent point that feels like a breakthrough, because this is that moment that, again, you're not energetically coming into divine union assuming that you're perfect, but you're doing the best that you can do, and you're prioritizing each other in the process. That's all it takes. It's the hardest thing in the world, but that's all it takes to a certain extent, because that's that moment, that differentiation point of, again, it's not that these energies aren't feeling those doubts and fears as they do so. They're just not pushing them off on the other person. They're recognizing them as a moment of saying, like, am I self-sabotaging? Am I moving away? Am I moving away from someone at a time that it feels like it'd be easier to push away instead of bringing closer? So this is that moment that we feel like that intimacy is forming, in a moment that is amplifying the doubts and the fears of these energies that are almost saying to each other, you're doing it. You're telling me you're not sure that you can do it as we do it together. Masculine and feminine energy and separation right now. This is why we see these energies are doing so much of this work right now. Feminine energy. It feels hard for the feminine in separation right now, because this is feminine energy that may potentially see the potential in a masculine coming towards them and saying, I can't put it there. I have to wait. This is the feminine energy doing that difficult path work and saying, I cannot guide someone on a path unless they show me the intentionality that they have on being on it. Masculine, having this moment where you're not sure where your path is. You can see why this might be so fraught right now for the energy in separation, because this is the masculine questioning their path work, and this is the feminine almost seeing the masculine questioning their path work and saying, I can't help you in this moment. You need to decide which direction you want to go into. You need to do that. You're on your own. You need to make that choice. And that is, again, the energy that is, even now we see the possibility of new energetic connections, healed energetic connections happening at a moment, but both of these energies are challenging themselves. Feminine challenging themselves, not demanding something from the masculine that they don't see. Recognizing and saying, it's the masculine coming towards me with that sense of intentionality. Masculine coming into that point saying, I need to lead forward with intentionality to the feminine, because if I don't, all I bring forth to them is energetic confusion. I can't be surprised if a feminine keeps me at a distance or creates that, or like at this time, if I don't lead forward with intentionality, because that's feminine energy protecting their heart space, not wanting to build forth with someone who's energetically confused as to what they want. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our High Priestess in its reversal in combination with our Temperance card. Yeah. This is what we're seeing right now that's so hard. I'm going to tell you right now, there's a lot of feminine energy right now in separation that might be like biting their tongues a little bit, because this is feminine energy saying, I could fix them, but I can fix it, but I won't. I can fix it. I can't fix it. This is the feminine energy going through that process. And it feels so frustrating, because the feminine saying, if it's not what it needs to be, if the energy isn't where it needs to be when I encounter it, I don't have the time to energetically take on the process of energetically fixing someone. This is feminine energy going, it's not my energetic job. This is the feminine energy going, I've got other things I can do with my time. It's not the right place for the energy. The feminine is literally going, there's so many other places. This is literally the healed feminine going, there are so many other places that demand this attention. The feminine's actually saying to themselves, the spiritually healed energy of the feminine saying, I don't have the bandwidth to put it all into fixing one energy. It doesn't make logical sense. This is the feminine energy saying, I've got so much I need to do. To the amount of investiture in healing a particular energetic frequency. Feminine's like, it's not tenable. It's not tenable. And this is the feminine feeling the grief of it. Look at this. This is feminine being like, I wish I could. This is feminine going in a past place. Might have been all I did. Feminine's like, I can't. I don't have the energetic time. I don't have the resolve. I need to utilize this in a better way. This is literally feminine getting very practical about things. This is so practical. This is feminine being like, I don't have time to wait for it to appear. I don't have time to cultivate it. You either show up and you're ready to do the work. You either have done the assignment or you haven't done it. No offense. Like, that's really the feminine being like, no offense. C'est la vie. Like, that's a feminine energy being like, I can't. This is feminine energy being like, I can't take on a student right now. I can't take on an extra. Like, I need you to be where I am. Masculine energy in separation. This is potentially feeling this on the part of a lot of the feminine energy around you. And this is either, again, feminine energy that you now recognize and understand. You now understand the lesson that a feminine was trying to give you at some point. And seeing the path of healing that is required to be able to show that feminine energy, that you're actually in that space of understanding the difference between being authentic versus being intentional. Finding that ability to mix those. This is something of either healing, trying to repair that path work, and doing a lot of work internally right now to say, what is there, like, what can I do here? How can I fix this? Or this is masculine energy right now, feeling the anxiety point of potentially building a new energetic connection with feminine and already seeing that there's some kind of limitation factor if you started to move towards them without having that intentionality, where they may also be like, already be like, closing that energetic door, if you will, because they're saying like, I don't have time. I don't have time for an energy that doesn't know what they want. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. This is the understanding of what it feels like when you're coming into divine union with someone that is as intentional as you. For feminine, it's frustrating. It creates that space or place of reminding you of all the places and spaces where you waited for something that didn't arrive. This is that moment of the feminine feeling the validation point and understanding. This is that moment of just like accepting and feeling the appreciation. And at the same time, it almost like builds that sense of frustration in all those places and spaces that you didn't get it. So make sure you're not feeling super triggered by the past right now. Feminine coming into divine union. Masculine, this is that weight or validation point again of feeling that sense of building that emotional, energetic intimacy to a certain extent. A lot of this is the masculine trying to move very quickly right now, because this is, again, if this is a masculine that feels this way, this is just wanting to like do everything one can to energetically secure something in the tangible that you're feeling that is being expressed in the spiritual. Masculine and feminine in the heart of the divine union frequency, what we're energetically recognizing right now, is effectively or energetically this moment that is amplification on feeling that sense of wanting to show someone their own ability to achieve, and making sure that, again, that pathwork is one that feels like it is the amplification of excitement, as opposed to something that feels like it is becoming too much of that anxiety point. And we see even now for a lot, masculine and feminine are going through this energetic work right now. And a lot of it has to do with the difference in recognizing that you can have a manifestation goal, but don't assume that your manifestation goal is going to energetically change where you are. If you want a manifestation goal, you're going to feel the same exact way when you reach that manifestation goal. The manifestation doesn't change. It can adjust it slightly. Like, there are things in the tangible that can slightly adjust an energetic frequency, but you need to navigate having the energetic frequency in the present, because that's what you're going to carry forth towards a manifestation goal. And we see that a lot of the energy right now in the divine union frequency is having that moment of recognizing what I can best describe as energetic satisfaction. Looking towards counterpart energy and saying, are you energetically content? Are you energetically satisfied? Because that is effectively the difference between moving forward towards something with a sense of excitement, feeling happy with what you have and continuing forward, versus the amplification of not feeling happy and looking for the external validation that's going to create that excitement and contentment. But that's not something that is achievable. Nothing you bring forth will generate that within you if you haven't found it within yourself. And we see a lot of that work happening right now in the divine union frequency to recognize the differentiation on that and make sure that you're energetically on the same page with your counterpart. Final card for today's spread between our Six of Cups in combination with our Death card in its reversal. One card, please. Whoop! As everything drops, we've got here strength. We've got here strength, and this is beautiful because, again, the energy in the divine union frequency, this is the conversation that we keep seeing that is coming up right now for the energy in the divine union frequency, which is the question of how one is energetically carrying something. This is an intense moment. There's a lot of intense energy that's happening right now in the frequency. The difference between whether you carry it is that feeling, that like that sense of like excitement, that sense of amplification, that sense of like, I love this. Let's do a little bit more of that. Let's keep putting on some weight here, versus that feeling of potentially feeling like a breaking point. And that's why we even see that sense of energetic compassion is one that in the divine union frequency is occurring right now, because that's looking towards someone and saying, are you carrying this like happily? Is this something that you're strong, like this is an energetic strength moment, or is it feeling like it is too energetically overwhelming? Because sometimes those can look like the same thing, right? We need to be able to do that intense work within ourselves to identify how we're feeling about what we're energetically carrying. So that is what's really difficult right now, because that's that moment of, again, looking towards someone energetically and saying, are you good? And someone being like, yeah. And being like, no, like, are you good? Those are different things. Masculine and feminine energy coming into the divine union frequency. This is feeling that energetic goodness. This is the feeling, like this is actually feeling that. That's like being like, no, I'm good. Because that's that feeling of, again, there's a lot of transformation that's happening here. But what's funny about it is the energy right now doesn't care about what they're letting go of or what's changing right now, because this is the energy. What happens when you prioritize a connection? When you prioritize something, everything else doesn't feel, it's like, meh. It doesn't feel like it's not that big a deal, right? Because this is the energy that's so focused on what they're creating with another, that anything, it's like anything that's like, changing around them. It's like, yeah, it's like, it's not that big a deal. And that's that process of energetic release, if you will. Masculine and feminine energy in separation right now. This is why we see that at this point, this is a massive amount. This is like the energies in the frequencies just supporting the energy in separation right now. Because this is the feminine energy saying, again, this is feminine energy in separation saying, my ability to heal someone is not a question. I just can't I can't lead into a partnership with someone that isn't healed. Like, feminine's not saying to themselves, it's not that I can't do something. This is what's so fundamentally difficult right now for a lot of the feminine energy, because it's like literally like, give me strength. Give me strength not to do that. Give me strength. Because this ability, this feels so hard for feminine, because this is the feminine that wants to. This is the feminine energy that wants to step in. This is the feminine energy, if they see that masculine energy and confusion, everything in them wants to step forward. And this is the feminine energy going, I can't. They have to show me that they have it within if I'm going to provide it to them. Masculine energy in separation. And this, even now, this could be feminine energy moving some of that energy into some kind of zone that feels like it's more like where that compassion can be, but without the divine union, because this is the feminine energy saying, like, again, that is the energetic compassion coming into play, but with a limitation point. Feminine energy, masculine energy in separation, this is that observable point. If you are having a hard time with that energetic intimacy in the past, not being able to blend the authenticity with the intentionality, for a lot of the masculine energy, there could be a deep amount of breakthroughs that you're having right now in separation. But the bigger question is, understanding what doesn't work is half of the puzzle. Understanding what doesn't work is half the puzzle. Being open and honest going forward is another half. The most important thing, though, is, again, what do you want? What do you want? Having the strength to be able to articulate what it is that you desire. Bringing that dream forth right now. This is a lot of the work right now for a lot of the masculine in separation, and it feels like a huge amount of energetic strength, because that is the strength. Like, that's strength. Being able to say something that you wish to someone, not knowing how it'll be energetically received. That is that moment that feels like, again, the ultimate act of strength, because that is the ultimate act of intimacy. Bottom of the deck on this reading for today is, What direction do you want to put your healing in? Masculine energy and separation. The problem here, you recognize this. I get it, masculine. When you move with intentionality, it can feel a lot like you're pushing all your chips in a certain direction. Yeah. Yeah. When you move with intentionality, it feels like you got to forego a lot of different options. Yeah. That's how it works. That's what intentionality does. But that's the difference between feeling like you're living in the shallow end of something, keeping all of your options open, having access to everything, versus actually moving with intentionality towards something. And they're not the same experience. The intentionality, like that is a much different path, much more intimacy there. But it does require an ability to prioritize. And when we prioritize, we relinquish to a certain extent some options. We become less woo, like anything you want. Feminine energy, this is that moment that, again, it feels like you're seeing some masculine energy right now that is trying to make some decisions. And I can see the feminine energy going, well, what if I just reach in there and put a little bit like of weight on the scale? You could. But this is the feminine energy almost recognizing and identifying and saying, I don't want to make it energetically easy for a masculine that's trying to make that kind of determination or decision. This is the feminine energy saying, I could probably do so, but I would remember that I did so. And the feminine is almost recognizing and identifying that moment of feeling like they make something easy for the masculine is one that not only they don't forget, but the masculine, it almost leads to the masculine coming towards them and being like, you just found the masculine that goes towards the energy that makes something easy for them. See how something starts? Masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union right now. One of the things that we see that you're doing is this is that moment that feels like you've got so many possibilities in relationality to how you move forward from here, right? What we see here is the connection that you experience between you right now is so important. What you do with it and how you move forward, that's like the big question right now, because it almost feels like there's like an abundance of possibilities and opportunities, because anything that you had planned prior to this feels like it's a little bit out the window. But that's that moment, like what's out the window, like there's all this kind of new stuff that's opening up that's like, a lot of different decisions and directions to move into at this time. Masculine and feminine energy in the heart of the divine union frequency right now. This is that modality that we're energetically seeing to a certain extent that feels like the energetic expression, if you will, of recognizing and identifying again what it is that you consider your path and your energetic purpose right now. A lot of this energy has changed so much from being in the heart of the divine union frequency that it feels to a certain extent that the manifestation goals that you may have originally had when you first entered the divine union frequency, they may not necessarily feel like they fit anymore. Because that's that moment that feels like that expansion point and recognizing that as we change, our manifestation goals change. But this is also that reminding point of identifying and remembering, as we kept having coming through today. The way you feel does not change with how you energetically receive something. That's just the parcel around something. Finding that within is the difference point. Like that is the difference. So we see even now, like there's that moment that feels like, again, that discerning between what feels like you can energetically shift it around you to create that sense of energetic easement versus what feels like something that you're working through within. That sense of dissatisfaction, something that may feel like unnameable that you're trying to put your energetic finger on, that may be more of that description of trying to find some kind of energetic purpose. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here to experience it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, gracestrega.com. My private readings are done over video, and if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber name at the point of payment. Also, please keep in mind, if you book a reading with me on my site, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading and you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. I'd like to thank you guys so much for being here with me today, sharing with me in these messages. Also, I would please encourage you. I have a survey that I would love you to do. We're looking at doing a tarot retreat. I would love to get your ideas in terms of where we should go. You can find that survey link on the link in my bio over on my link tree. And again, I encourage you all to please follow me over on Substack. We're going to be offering new monthly tarot classes. We are starting our first class on April 17th. It will be the Fool's Journey. Your subscription to my Substack will grant you access to those classes, as well as all of the relevant materials connected to it, as well as the private chat for those who are class members. Founding members will also be able to get a free 1-hour reading with me, where we will be able to do some mentorship, help you with your own personal tarot journey. I hope you guys have an absolutely beautiful day. Please take care of yourselves. Please take care of each other. And we will do this again tomorrow.